We've got an amazing night two group dates, the first one-on-one, and I am dressed for prom, ready to go, but I'm calling this video, Did Chock Choke? No, did Chock Choke? Did Chock Choke? What do you think? Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. Welcome back. I like to do a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning of my episodes. The housekeeping today is make sure you subscribe to my channel. Hit that like, make sure you leave a comment because I want to have a conversation. What are you loving about this season? For me, what I love are all the things that the Bachelor Nation isn't. All the sweetness, all the one-liners, I just can't keep up. And all the tears. It's the show that just keeps giving. Now, I want to say that I see you, ABC. You told us that Gil was going to be edited out of our show and he was still in the episode. So I'm not crazy about that, but I want you to know that I'm paying attention to that and we'll see what happens next week. So if they were delayed by a week, I'll give them that, but I don't want to see this man on our TV again. Now, the evening starts with the men coming into the mansion. The oohs and the ahs. They were there the night before, but now they're moving in. And I just thought it was so endearing. It reminds me of the Golden Bachelor when all the women are vying for who's going to sleep on the top bunk because who's had more knee replacements, and the men are doing the same. And Charles.
Like age-wise, probably I'm the oldest one. But the health-wise seems like I'm the most fit person. So I volunteer. Sleep on the top. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Just so many precious moments. Pascal doesn't know how to do his laundry. He sleeps naked. He's going to pay the men to do his laundry. I just thought it was really kind of endearing. Pascal, of course, being high maintenance, a little bit much for me. Jesse is talking about, who needs earplugs, and they're just keeping it real, right? Who's going to need to use the bathroom? I just appreciate all of this. Then Jesse comes in and announces that this week they're going to have 2 group dates and 1 magical one-on-one. And then when Charles says,
could you repeat?
He just says what everybody wants, the same question that everybody has. So I just find those moments really the most endearing. So then we find out the first group date. Well, here they announce, the group date and all the men's names are called and they all are cheering each other on. Instead of in the usual show, it's oh God, I got a group date. I didn't get the one-on-one. The men are high-fiving. This is going to be a great group. And so there's just positive energy all around. They go in the room, they're checking out all their tuxedos, and that certainly delivers. Reminds me of my prom in the 80s also, with just the blue, the ruffles and all of that texture. I just thought it was really fun. And then, of course, we have Joan coming out, dressed to the nines. She looks amazing. She had her prom in 1981, and she rides in the limo with them. There's just so much positivity. It's really cute. Gary's kind of dancing, and I loved that. They do the dance off to Taylor Dane. If you don't know who Taylor Dane is, look her up. Amazing. And she looked amazing. I was like, wow, these are songs of my generation. And then we've got Jonathan, Charles doing his little dance. I just could not get enough. Guys breakdancing reminded me of the Australian breakdancer. But the men are helping each other, and it's just endearing. Now, what I also love too is the fascinating stories as we're getting to know these men a little bit more. Gary, again, Tina Turner's godson. Bob, that his daughter, that he would host Thanksgiving with 27 lesbians. Fun. Jonathan, that his first prom, the girl that he asked changed her mind, so he didn't get to go. That becomes a storyline. But this night, Jonathan even talked about, my heart is healed. Then we see Charles sitting on the bench by himself. Oh my gosh, I'm Charles, get up and talk to Joan or something. So sweet. But they all have one-on-one moments with Joan where they can tell her a little bit more of their stories. Charles then tells the story that his wife died of an aneurysm. Oh my gosh, so hard. She was perfectly healthy, and then all of a sudden she had an aneurysm. Just so sad. I've had a family member where that happened to, and it's just happened so quickly. It's really shock. And then he calls his daughter Sophia, holding the phone like only a dad does. Sophia, I want to tell you I'm having fun. And that moment where he says, I'm not sad anymore is like the first day I've not been sad. Oh, my heart is bleeding. So sweet. Finally, Jonathan wins the king of the prom. And the dancing between them, it was just so precious. But Joan is a very sensitive lead. She's listening to all these stories. She wants to give them opportunities to heal. She doesn't need to pick the guy who's like the most attractive. She goes for the heart, right? She goes with what's going to make a bigger difference for the men for who she chooses to give the rose. And I just thought that is really precious. And who are the random people at the prom? I will just have to say. And the smooches, all of that, I just thought was incredibly endearing. So let's get to the next one, which is the one-on-one with Chock. Greatest place on earth. We all know it's going to be Disney. They get there. They've got the ears. It's just so cute. Joan looks adorable in her shorts. There's definitely some great chemistry here. And by the way, I think Chock is the front runner at this point. If you look at it, who gets the first date? That's super important. The chemistry between them, there's a lot of positive compliments. Ooh, did you see him in his light blue shirt? Matches his eyes, and he is wowed by her attractiveness. Also, there was an outtake scene we didn't see on the show where Joan says, will you accept this churro? Super cute. We didn't get to see that on the show, but I loved it. Chock is clearly into Joan. And then they're at the Star Wars, and there's like R2-D2, and he's like, are you flirting with Joan? She's mine. Okay, in other shows, I would have been a little bit like, ooh, is he a little bit possessive? But here, I really think it's just like playful. And Joan really said it was no brainer about who to ask on this date. I needed to see if you would also be fun, and he checks all the boxes. So I like him for her. Again, there seems to be a lot of positive banter. And if you notice, they're looking for things in common, right? When they're at the park, well, I fish. Oh, I fish too. Where do you like to vacation? I go to the Bahamas. Oh, I go to Florida. So there's just a lot of nice checking in. Do they have things in common? And then you hear Chock saying things like, we have similar values, lifestyle, etc. Now, what I find interesting is the depth of the evening portion of these dates. So Joan is looking like Cinderella. Chock is dressed in a beautiful tuxedo, and they're at dinner. And I will have to tell you, this is where I think that Chock chokes a little bit. Okay? Hear me out on this. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Joan, very inquisitive, says, I want to talk about your marriage, because he's been talking about Kathy, the woman that he was engaged to, but then she wants to hear about that. So he, lovely, says, got married in my 30s. Marriage lasted for, 12 or 13 years. And, she's the mother of my children. Nothing bad to say about her. That's fine. But then think about it. Joan is very pure. I don't know how many men she's been with, but we get the sense, right, that her husband was one of the only people she'd been with. And that's a tough story to match if you've had a divorce, right? This love and loss, and then how do I fit in? So many positive things going for this couple. We hear Chock saying, like, she could be the one. Joan says, you were an easy choice. You have a fun side. This is more than I could have hoped for. Now, here's where I thought Chock choked a little bit. That he says,
we were together for 9 years, and we were engaged, and we had plans to be together, Joan. And we did.
And I thought, okay, just a little bit more to the story. You were together for 9 years. Now, not that everybody has to rush into getting remarried. We don't know more about his divorce if the timing of it wasn't right. But I felt like that was a little bit defensive about stating his history. Like, no, really, really, we were together for 9 years and I was in it. So, because I just wondered, Joan knows that at the end of this, and I really do pray we don't get to this, there's supposed to be an engagement. But if he was with someone for 9 years, who knows how long the engagement was, I just wondered. I'm just going to put a pin in that. I don't know anything more than that. But this is what happens for me as a therapist, as a psychologist, watching this. I just said, felt ever so slightly defensive. Let me know what you think in the comments. Clearly, he was in love with Kathy. Now, Joan is flattered because he says, you remind me of Kathy. And the second thing that I picked up on Chock is when he says, this was the only time I've shown vulnerability. And he said multiple times, I have to be strong for other people. So I wonder if he is comfortable with ongoing kind of vulnerability. And they both have this common story, right? Our late partners told us that they want us to find love again. So that's what makes a nice kind of joining. He said he's dated other people, but he can tell Joan everything. So here's the other thing I want to say. Even though that's just like one tiny little concern of mine, people can grow and change. And let's face it, actually, the competition brings out the best in people, meaning that Joan is the prize. And if they are to be together and he values her and sees her as this person and was excited to be with Kathy, and then she passed, you get the message that life is short. And this time I might react differently. So I don't want to say his past is everything. I just want to say, let's put a pin in it and let's come back to this later, because I truly do want Joan to be happy. And I think he's her leading guy at this point. I love that Joan says that she feels safe again. Everything looks beautiful, but there's this little pitter patter, and the two of them are just so happy with the fireworks going on, with the castle in the back. I think this was just a date really well done. Let's get to the second group date, the talent show. Okay, was all of that talent? I don't know. The men have very little time to prepare. But Kim really impressed me. He said he knew there might be a talent show, so he prepared a song. How lovely was that? I thought that really took a lot of courage. Then the other men, I'm liking that there wasn't anything kind of risque. We had Dan with the red ribbons. Oh my gosh, so touching. Talking about his tremor and how that the ribbons were just perfect for him. We've got the, hitting the wood, but all the men, again, high-fiving each other, supporting one another. There's just no backstabbing, no jealousy. Everyone is just there to have a good time, to even Kim, right, when he comes over to sing, he sings specifically to Joan. The men understand the assignment to make the most of every single second. And so I love that the men really, nobody got fritzed out about anything. They just can speak their truth. I love that. And then finally we see Dan, well deserved, gets the rose. They go on a one-on-one. And how precious was that? I really like Dan. He's the one who had the adopted daughter, who she spoke so highly of her dad. He just has a real sweet spot. And we're having real conversations, like about health and illness. And he had really serious diabetes, is now taking care of himself, but wants to let a partner know, because heaven forbid he falls in love and then the partner would be heartbroken. Like, what a strong, sweet sentiment to care about the other person. And he wants to, let Joan know, and she handles that so well. This is not an issue for her. When you've had a loss, you've lost a partner, you can just appreciate that. And she even said it herself, we're all going to have health issues at some point. I thought just so lovely. What a beautiful sentiment. They're at this beautiful place. There was music. He says, do you want to dance? And I feel so comfortable with you. You fit perfectly. Just well done. Perfect. Great job, Dan. Now we get to the barbecue. But even before then, we're back at the Bachelor Mansion. And Kim is like fixing the garbage disposal. The men are shucking corn. They're all in the kitchen. They're all helping. And the only drama we have is how to cook the burger. Jack is out there, doesn't think that you should push down the patty and or put barbecue sauce on the meat. And I just love that. And then they're all like, yes, chef. The cuteness, the nobody's pouting, nobody's having a weird time. All of them are just so eager to get time with Joan. Joan comes in, my God, that was a sexy dress. She looks beautiful and she's just so happy to be there, right? Don't bother getting up. But all the men do the right thing. They stand up, they're eager to see her. And I just love that. This, as she said, would be a Sunday night for all of them. She would be cooking, having a barbecue, and they all make the most of every little interaction, as they should. Gary, she presents him a picture from the prom. He's choked up and crying about that picture. So sweet. And then can we talk about Mark? Okay, Mark. And ABC, you producers faked us out. You led us to believe last episode at the end that she was going to say, I love you, Mark. She didn't say, I love you. She said in German, can I get a kiss? And so sweet. He is obviously just adorable, wants more and more time with her. But there's something that is just so endearing about Mark, and they have this nice connection. She says, you could have asked for it earlier. So sweet. And then even Jack, he waits until after his time with her, puts his suit on, and then jumps in the pool and does the cannonball. I can't handle it. There's an outtake of the men in the pool doing like synchros. You have to see this.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful! Get it, guys!
And back.
Loving it!
Smile. Put your hand over. Okay.
But so precious, all these interactions. I just love it. Now we get to the final rose ceremony. Joan comes in that gorgeous green dress. The men just say, wow. Like, no filter. I love it. Wow, because this is a wow moment. And we're going to find out, of course, that this is going to get harder and harder for Joan because she feels all of these roses so sensitively. She is just so empathic to these men. But the order of the roses matters. Mark gets the first rose. And then her final rose, which if you don't know this is sometimes called the producer rose, is oftentimes, in this case, I don't think it's the case. I really think she wanted to give it to Guy, but they make like one person kind of sweat it out. And sometimes the producer's rose is who the producers think makes for good TV. You may not want to keep him, but they keep him in. Anyway, she gives that last one to Guy, and I think she likes Guy. He actually looked really nice in his suit, so that's all good. But we have to say goodbye to Jack, to Bob. Is it Charles K? Casey? CK? CK. Michael. Jack is singing, My Way. The men are bonding. And each of them, on their way out, is talking how memorable it was. Not like, oh, you're going to regret it, looking back on this. And they're not. Here's the other thing that's missing. Nobody's taking this personally. So what's missing in this show from the regular episodes is we're not seeing Joan with low self-esteem. We're not seeing her say, I don't know my worth. She's not talking about the crazy exes or her toxic relationships or not feeling enough. These are healed individuals with complex stories of love and loss, divorce, grief, illness, sadness, and they're just grateful. They're just grateful to be there, to have a second chance at love. And we just get to watch them in all their glory, supporting each other. The outtakes, again, are precious. Not only were the men doing the synchronized swimming, Charles is in his bathing cap with goggles on. Oh my God, be still my heart. The lessons that they're learning, and I will have to give a nod to Joan. Joan is handling herself so well. You can tell that she's watched the show. She wants to do it her way. She is, as Charles said, it's not Charles in charge, it is Joan in charge. She is running this show, and she's doing a beautiful job of it. Really thanking each and every one of the men. Such profound empathy for them. I'm thrilled. I just can't wait to see what comes next. Next week, it looks like we're going to have some travel. It looks like a Vegas date uh, with Pascal, a kickball game. Joan is going to break down some, and I think that's going to be the drama for the season. Stay tuned for more next week, and thank you for joining my channel. And that's a wrap.